Hi guys. So I got some really great questions overnight from some of you guys. So I just wanted to make a little supplemental video for our routine for more beginners and just answer some of the questions. Okay, so the first question that I had was about needle depth, and they wanted to see the inside of the head. I warmed this pickle head up a little bit so that I could bend it easily. Here inside, you can see the hair. And for my routine, I'm just gonna show you guys really quick on this pickle head. I'll use this needle so you can see. Okay, so my barb is right here. I don't need to go past here. I'm not shoving the whole needle in. I am definitely not going up past here where it really thickens up a lot. That is how you will get like hole marks also, in addition to barbs and some other things. So I just want to show you, I am going in just to that first line where it starts. And let's see if I can get this to show up well for you. So you can see right in here, there is my needle inside of the head, and it is in more than enough. So it is really just this small tip that is going in, and that is enough. You do not need to drive it all the way in like that. You could see the entire needle pretty much is inside the head. That is too much. It leaves a bigger hole, and it's just not necessary. And if you do that and drive it all the way in like that, you are wasting a lot of hair. So, you know, you just want to put just that very bottom tip of the hair, just enough to get the hair through the vinyl. If you feel the vinyl, if you're still, you know, maybe your needle is shaped a little differently, maybe you're not sure what the tip is, just feel the vinyl with your fingers like that and see how thin it actually is. It does not need to go in very far. All right, the next question is about how far we place the hairs apart. So I'm just gonna draw a little, I'm just gonna make a little part right here so that you guys can see the distance between these. These hairs, I am pretty much rooting, like I would say about 1 needle tip's difference apart. It is not a very wide amount of space at all. If you want it a lot thicker, you would root right next to each other with no room for a needle in between the space. If you want it sparser, you would do like a few needle spaces. And that is just really something that you are going to have to play around with. If you don't have a test head, definitely get a test head. Get some hair and just kind of experiment. Do little patches where you're doing it super close together. Do a few rows so that you can actually start to see the thickness. The more you root, the thicker hair looks as you get more layers on top of it. You know, do them much farther apart and see what that looks like when you have more hair. Like I can easily tell you the distance I'm doing, but for you to be able to get to the point where you can decide how far apart you're making them depending on the result that you want, you need to first be able to see the result you get from those distances. And then I promise you, the more that you root, it will just come naturally where you'll know how far apart you need to be rooting. The next question was about hairlines. How far down in the back and the forehead and the sides. Basically, the entire hairline. How do I know where to root and what, how far down and how far out and forward. So I'm just going to show you guys a few things. This is a regular hairline. This will be, everyone has slightly different hairlines. This is basically the kind of hairline I have. Down here by the ear, it is a little bit longer. And then it goes up a bit and a tiny bit farther down in the crown, and the same. I root my head sort of like that, but a little bit different. You can see hairlines for babies' heads. They are all a little bit different. I try really hard for realism when I'm rooting a baby of a specific age. Now it's just kind of in my head, but when I first started, if I'm rooting a newborn, I'm looking at newborn hairs, newborn hairlines. If I am rooting a 4-month-old baby, I am looking at around 4-month hairlines. And basically what I do is I go to the ear, the bottom of the ear right there. These I angle out a little bit, and then I start going up a tiny bit here, and this one will be almost even, more like this one. I might go down a tiny bit in the middle, but it's gonna be overall pretty even. You can see the way that this head is sculpted. If I rooted the hair right here, it would look really funny. I do not want to go all the way down to where like the neck begins. I'm not rooting in this area. I want to be about almost an inch, a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch above the lowest crease there. So it is about, right there. You can see it's about 2 finger lengths from where the flange started. This obviously depends a lot on how the head is rooted. Some babies have longer necks rooted. Sculpted. Pascal comes to mind. He has an actual neck. He has like a couple, he has like one more down here, and then the actual flange started. So when I'm rooting Pascal, I'm not doing a couple fingers above the flange, because then he would have hair, to his shoulders pretty much starting off. But it's basically, you can look at the bottom line where their face stops, and you want to be above that line there. And Pickle, she's obviously older. Her hair is going to be a little bit longer because she is older. If she was a newborn size, this hair, first of all, would be a lot shorter, but I would also adjust where I'm rooting. These are some of my favorite newborn rooting, or newborn hair. These aren't reborns, these are real babies. But you can see on usually like very newborn, their hairline is a little bit different. They don't have this type of hairline where the hair behind their ear comes down more and goes up. Their hairline, it goes kind of straight down, So if I was rooting this style baby, I'll use this baby for an example. When I am doing my back hairline, I would root my hair and then come like this. And then I would root about to this crease here, this crease. I would just go, I wouldn't root in the crease because hair can stick out when you root in the crease. It can look kind of funny. but I would just go right above that. And then again, down here, I would just kind of angle it out a little bit. So that would be my newborn hairline. And I would encourage you guys to, like, this can get tricky. I'm trying to figure out the way to word this. Okay, this can get tricky. I picked like the most average, normal newborn hairstyles. If you look at newborn hair online, you will see babies that have very, very crazy hairlines. Some of them you'll see maybe their hair in the back starts way up here at the top of their ear. Maybe their front hairline is back here in the middle of the head. For me, for realism's sake, when I'm rooting, I want it to be as realistic as possible. So I go with the most common normal hairlines. If I root a baby's hairline starting way back here, sure, there are some babies whose hairline does start way back there, but it's not the normal. And because I'm trying to make a doll look as realistic as possible, doing something that's not the norm, but on a real human baby, you could be like, oh wow, that baby has a crazy hairline, but you know it's real because it's a baby. It would just look like I was not achieving realism. It would look like, you know, like I didn't know I should start a hairline at a different place there. These are also really, really great reference pics for side hairlines. So my side hairlines, I usually start rooting my hairlines right here. On an older baby, I will go down lower, like this is the tragus on the ear, that little flap on the front. Sometimes I will root there because I want it to be a little bit longer and look more natural. If I am rooting a more newborn baby, I'm not going to be rooting way down here. I'm going to be rooting right to that tragus. For baby hairs, I am going to be rooting natural looking baby hairs that come out far, pretty much to the eyebrow. And I am going to be doing them like this in the natural shape where those baby hairs would be if you are looking at pictures with baby hairs. It's kind of the same with directional rooting, as you can see where hair grows forward. When we have our swirl, hair is coming off of it and it's growing, you know, in this direction. It's growing forward. So I want to make sure when I'm rooting that I am not rooting straight up and down hairs like this. I want to make sure that I am rooting hairs like this in the natural direction that hair would naturally grow. I also got some question on hairlines about how to know where to start your hairline in the front. And this actually, a lot of sculptors make it easy for us. I will say there is no magic spot for all sculpts. You want to look at the individual sculpt and how its head is sculpted. But a good way to tell is if you can look at the shape, there is this little point right here where the head gets a little bit flat right here. On this baby, this would be where your hairline would naturally go. And you can see that. I'm not going to use this magic marker on Pickle here. But you can see with Pickle, it's the same thing. If you look at the hairline on the front, it is slope, 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 and then it's flat for the forehead. That flat area here, which is exactly where we marked out that I'm doing the baby hairs, that is where you want your front hairline to start. Obviously, you know, you could go farther back if you wanted like a super hairy baby look. You could go a little bit forward, but you wouldn't want to go too much outside of where you can naturally see that head starting to flatten out. And I know that in my other mapping videos, I had kind of talked about the C's of the basic. If you are doing like a forward facing hairline, that you could do a C here where it starts to go out for your baby hairs, and you would get this natural area where it curves in there. If you are doing a different hairstyle, like if you are doing a little side swipe or something, side swoop, like I do a lot, it's going to be a little bit different. But you really want to look at like hair growth for that. These are going forward, these hairs are going down, but then they start to come up. And then you can just kind of angle your hair, you know, how it looks natural. If you are new to rooting, I would say play around, get test heads. Don't be afraid to mess around with different hairlines, different styles. Look at babies. Babies are the absolute best reference material you are ever going to get. If you are looking at reference rooting videos, unless you're doing like where you want to copy a rooting style, like I did with Pickle. I love Nikki Johnston's rooting, so I'm using that rooting style. However, if I wasn't doing that, if I was just like, I want to root hair that just looks real on a baby, I don't want to look at other people's rooting necessarily. The best place to go to is to look at real babies and to see what their hair looks like. What are the most common hairlines, and to go off of that. And just don't be afraid to experiment at all. You know, get test heads, get test parts. You can practice rooting on legs. You can practice rooting on belly plates. You can practice rooting on anything. The more that you root, the easier it's going to get. The other question that I got, which I actually covered in the Reborn Supplies company but it was asking where I get my mohair. And I will just show you guys. I have a ton of mohair. I actually just cleaned this out. My favorite place to get mohair is Silk Effects. I also really love, but she went out of, I believe she's not in business anymore, is the Quirky Charismatist. I have some hair in here. Hold on one sec. All right. This is her hair. She used to sell the absolute most amazing hair ever. Another really good one is Slumberland. I might have actually given some of my Slumberland away. No, it's right here. Slumberland mohair is amazing. It is super fine. It is super, super soft. I did hear that she is back in business now. Another place that I really love getting mohair, this is my favorite place ever, and I used to get her hair all the time, is from Carmen Dolls in Russia. Her hair is really good quality. It is not as fine adult as Silk Effects. Like Silk Effects Fine Adult is just a little bit coarser than alpaca. This is the finest, softest adult mohair I have ever used, and I have tried like a million different brands. But Olga from Carmen Dolls, her mohair is very soft. It is very affordable. She has a lot of really, really great colors. I have a lot of hair from, not a lot, I gave a lot of it away, but I do have hair for Happiness for Dolls. This is affordable mohair. It's good beginner mohair. If you are looking for a good affordable beginner mohair, Happiness for Dolls is fantastic. It is a regular adult mohair, so it is more coarse, but you wouldn't want to use this on like a small newborn necessarily. For if you're trying to go for complete realism and get like the softest, finest newborn look. But if you are doing an older baby or a toddler, Happiness for Dolls is really amazing. I know I said this in another video, but I have had a couple issues with a couple different batches. I had one batch that turned green. This one I can see is starting to get a little green hue, so I have not used it. It is not terrible yet, but it just looks kind of like you've been to the pool a little too much. So I don't want to use this hair. I want to hold on to it and see if it has problems. I have seen other people that had that same issue with the hair dye changing colors. And one lady, her baby got returned to her 4 months later and the hair was like bright purple. So that is something to keep in mind. Most people, though, that use Happiness for Dolls, they love it and they have never had an issue. I will say my hair that changed colors, I contacted her right away and let her, I mean, it wasn't right away because it took a few months to change, but I told her as soon as it changed and she replaced it. Like, the customer service was really, really great. I also have alpaca from Jay's Premium Mohair. I don't know what's going on with Jay. Every single month he's out of business and then he's coming back and then he's back. But if you see that Jay is back, Jay's Premium Mohair on Facebook, if you see that he has mohair or I'll say alpaca. I've never actually tried his mohair. I've only tried his alpaca. If you see it for sale, get it, go for it. It's always really amazing quality. And his prices are super affordable as well. I'm just looking for one to tell you guys never to use. Sorry, let me pause this while I find it. Got it. Okay, this mohair you can get on Bountiful Baby for cheap. Don't do it, even for practice. The cut ends are mixed. Ew. This one has knits in it. It is super frizzy. This is the lowest quality hair you can get. And even if you do a good job rooting, your hair, you know, give it a month, your hair will not look good if you root with Ruby Red. I am a firm believer when you are learning how to root that you should get a good quality mohair. Even if you can't afford Silk Effects, which is actually not that expensive. It's like 35 bucks for a 1/4 ounce, which is more than enough to root a couple heads with of normal size babies. But if you do need like a more affordable option for learning, I would not go with this. I would definitely go with like Happiness for Dolls, and try that. I also sometimes use Southern Charm mohair. Southern Charm mohair is very, very good quality. It is a coarse, real adult mohair. So I do not like using it on newborns just because it does, for realism's sake, it is not that soft. I mean, it's soft, but it looks too coarse. It does not look natural. But I do like using it on older babies. The quality is good and it is good hair. I think I already said Slumberland was fantastic if you can get Slumberland mohair. But my top places for me rooting, I like Silk Effects. But I only like the Silk Effects Fine Adult. Their regular adult is too coarse for me and I don't like it. But my go-tos are definitely Silk Effects and Carmen Dolls. If you need something more affordable, I would definitely get Happiness for Dolls to learn with. It is super affordable and it is definitely good enough quality to learn with. Like I said, it is coarser than Fine Adult, but if you're doing like older babies or you're learning, it is great for it. It's totally fine. And most people that use it really, really love it. They have good results with it. I also have a lot of unprocessed alpaca here. You could see I have like giant bags of it. I used to process my own alpaca, but I just don't have time anymore, so I don't do it anymore. Now I just spend the extra money and get it already processed and ready to go, which is fantastic. All right, you guys, I think that, oh, there was one more question. How do you know how much to cut off? Okay, so for the lengths to cut, it really depends on how long you want the hair when it's finished. You can obviously cut your hair when you're done, and we will, just to clean it up, even if the length is good, just to, just to clean it up. For a regular newborn, this is about the length of hair that I would cut. This hair is kind of messy. Let me just grab a little piece. You could see it's about 2.5 fingers or so. You definitely, if you cut shorter than an inch, you're going to have a very hard time rooting it. You want to allow for that hair that goes inside of the head that you can't see, and you also want to be able to hold it comfortably. So I would say, at least cut an 1.5 inches. If you are wanting longer hair, obviously cut your lengths longer. I usually figure that about 1/2 inch of the hair that I cut is going to be inside of the head. And so that is kind of just how I figure it. It's just kind of by eye at this point. You can definitely experiment with that too, cutting different small lengths of hair and then seeing how long it is when you root it, how much is left. And that's one of those things as well that will just start coming naturally to you the more practice you have and the longer that you do it. All right, guys, I think that was all of the questions from yesterday. I'm so glad that you guys asked them, because there were some things that I did want to cover, and I'm glad I got a chance to. If more stuff comes up as we are rooting, definitely feel free to let me know, just like you guys did that time, and I can definitely make more little Q&A supplemental videos to help you guys out. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one.